Live from tape, pre-recorded at our studios in Austin, Texas and Portland, Oregon, it's Syndicated with Leslie and Ben. Hello everyone, I'm the Ben of that.
And I'm the Leslie. This is a twice-monthly podcast about television, genre, and storytelling, in which we watch an episode of a show and explore the history of television, one episode at a time.
We are coming to the end of our adult animation season, which means we are running out of shows to cover, but we are very grateful to get my friend and yours, Ezra Kaye, on the show to talk about a very recent piece of adult animation. Ezra, how are you doing?
I mean, it's October in Bellingham, Washington, and it hasn't started fucking raining yet, so I'm getting a little antsy, but other than that, I'm good.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
It's weird.
Yeah, I realize you just said you're deeply anxious, and I responded positively, but I'm glad it's autumn. Folks, if you're not familiar with Ezra, you certainly should be. They are one of the co-hosts of Sneople the Movies, our film podcast right here on InfinityBreak.net. And they are also one of my players on ParaScience, an exploration of the supernatural and unquantifiable, in which they play Alistair Graham McAndrews, our man in black. Ezra's coming on the show to talk about none of those, because if you're just now joining us, we're talking about the Legend of Vox Machina. Amazon original. Pardon me?
It's Machina. Yeah.
All right, it's a made-up word.
No, it's not.
All words are made up.
I know it.
It's fine. Anyway, no, I couldn't let that one go. I'm sorry.
No, give it to me one more time. What is the pronunciation?
Machina.
Machina.
Like Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina.
No.
If you're just now joining us, we're talking about The Legend of Vox Machina, the Amazon original animated series based on the runaway success of Critical Role. I'm going with it. I'm not fucking fixing it.
I'm going to crawl through this computer screen and fight you.
Critical Role, if you're somehow not familiar, is a hit actual play tabletop stream show on Twitch, hosted by Dungeon Master Matthew Mercer, who drags his voice actor friends on an improvised adventure using the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing system.
Mercer and his players leveraged their expansive fan base into a very successful Kickstarter in 2019 in the hopes of independently producing an animated series based on their collaborative story. The Kickstarter received far more support than initially anticipated by its creators, which led to a full season of television and a distribution deal with Amazon Studios.
The Legend of Vox Machina aired for the first time in January of this year and has already been renewed for a second season by Amazon.
If you enjoyed any video game or any animated show produced in the last 10 to 20 years, chances are one of the Critical Role cast members voiced a major role in that production. The show features the vocal work of Laura Bailey, Taliesin Jaffe, Matthew Mercer, Ashley Johnson, Liam O'Brien, Marisha Ray, Sam Riegel, and Travis Willingham for a start.
No, really, like anything. They're in fucking everything. It's like finding out you have ants.
Yeah.
Like half of them are in Mass Effect. I think half of them are in Red Dead. The English dub of pretty much any anime.
Yeah, on top of the main cast, obviously guest appearances include such heavy hitters as David Tennant, Stephanie Beatriz, Gina Torres, Stephen Root, which I would have loved to have seen. I love Stephen Root so much, I was just going to say that.
I watched Get Out again last night.
Oh, yeah?
Stephen Root's in there. I love Stephen Root.
I've only watched it once. What is the thing that I saw him in recently where he was playing a rather serious role, actually? What was that? Anyway, he's awesome.
Office Space?
No, it was a serious role, Ben, and I would have known Office Space.
I really do have a feeling he's just going to keep coming back, because he's already been in both seasons we've covered. Obviously, he was a principal cast member of News Radio and King of the Hill.
Yeah.
He's great.
Stephen
I love
Root's
him.
Supremacy, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I actually, if you're in our Discord, I actually linked a really cool career retrospective interview that he just did.
Yeah.
In our Discord, it was like an hour of him talking about his history of working with the Coen brothers and whatnot, and
cool.
doing news radio and whatnot. He says news radio is the thing he is the most proud of.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway.
Last but not least, the episode that we watched today is Season 1, Episode 4, Shadows at the Gate. The 7 crew members of a standard D&D adventuring party that has a name are held prisoner in a castle keep that comes under attack from necromantic monsters. While they're initially unsuccessful against the monsters, the gang is quickly able to put aside their combined crisis of faith and fight back against the terrors that are attempting to breach the walls of the castle. Ezra.
Yeah.
To cross this bridge, we have 2 riddles for thee.
Okay.
You may roll an investigation check or perhaps knowledge local if you wish.
You told me I didn't need dice for this. Now I gotta go get my one of my 76 handmade D20s that I counted the other day, and I'm not ashamed of it all.
Riddle the first answers the first, whatever. Riddle the first questions the first goblin. Why this show?
Why this show on this podcast, or why do I like this show?
Why did you pick this show?
Why did I? Okay, so the thing is that I usually don't like most animation produced for adults in the last 20 years, or that's like American animation produced for adults. In fact, most of it makes me want to do unspeakable things to my own eyeballs and or ear holes. But Critical Role showed up at a time in my life where I was having a really hard time, and I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of binging, because but this was a point after the first campaign of the show had ended. So I had literally hundreds of hours and I was watching like 30 hours a week of other people playing D&D because it was the only thing that made me feel anything for like 6 consecutive months. So I have a soft spot.
Been there.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've all been there. So I have a very specific soft spot for these characters, and I wasn't necessarily super excited about the concept of it being turned into an animated show, but all of the people who make it were really excited about turning it into an animated show. And so I went, well, okay, like, clearly if the people who are making it are having fun, it's going to be worth paying attention to. And then it came out kind of after I had sort of dropped out of the Critical Role online fandom, because it gave me hives, to be perfectly honest.
Online fandom did?
Fandom
Why?
will do that. Don't even get me started on the...
Why an online fandom? Because I got old and I didn't want to put up with anyone else's bullshit.
That's so weird. And you wouldn't describe them as abrasive or anything?
No, or deeply secondhand embarrassment inducing? No, definitely not.
Hey, Crit Roll fandom, that's not even directed at you. That's all fandom.
Just
That's
all
every
of it.
fandom.
I don't want to talk to. I'm like, nope. I will be over here with my Discord and my like 15 people whose opinions I care about. Anyway, and then I had just sort of. I had kind of dropped off of it, and then I had gotten a weird complex about it. Like, what if I turned out that I hated it, and then I had to rethink my whole relationship with the show that I had poured, like, literally hundreds of hours into watching and freaking out about. And then it came out, and it was like, it was fun, and it was its own thing. I could appreciate it as its own thing, and I had some issues with it, but I got to have kind of an uncomplicated good time with it, which was exactly what I needed it to do, so that I could just like remove my head from my ass about this, where it had crawled without my consent.
I find that really interesting.
The first goblin strokes his chin and nods satisfactorily at your answer. He jumps off the side of the bridge into the creek below and scuttles back beneath the bridge. A second goblin appears.
We're not doing that. So what I was going to say is that I find it really interesting because our last guest for Tuca and Bernie said the same thing about adult animation. You know, said most of it is not appealing, but that this show in particular. And so I just find it really interesting that certain shows speak to certain people for whatever reason. I think it's fantastic.
This genre is like kind of weirdly polarizing. I think we found a lot of people who say, I don't normally care for this, but this one.
Yeah.
Like, it seems enjoyment in this genre seems to be an exception.
I feel like...
rather than a rule for a lot of people.
I feel like specifically I may have judged all of adult animation unfairly based on a handful of examples that I want to fist fight people about. And by that I mean, like, I just, a person gets really, really, really tired of having to hear misogynistic, etc. jokes from Family Guy all the time.
Sure.
And it's like, if that's your only touchstone for Western animation produced for adults, I think, sometimes you kind of just end up writing off the whole bastard.
Yeah, the world of adult animation is so much richer than that, though.
Yeah, and also it's gotten a lot more colorful in the last, it seems like maybe, since whenever BoJack Horseman came out, which I also I can't pay attention to it. This is a totally separate thing. I probably have some sort of undiagnosed, I don't want to talk about it. Look, I probably have ADD, don't ask me about it. I have a hard time paying attention to visual media of any kind unless I have somebody else in the room, like, peer pressuring me to look at the television. This is just a thing about me, and for some reason I find it harder to concentrate on animated television than on live-action television. Don't know why. A lot of it, even if I think it's pretty good, just slides the fuck off my brain, and, like, I wish I wasn't like that. But it just, it's like having you just throw spaghetti at the wall and they go splat right down to the floor.
Well, two things. I have ADD too, and I love when the horse is sad. And two, I'll be the guy that sits down in the room and makes you watch BoJack.
Okay, that's fair.
Sure.
I don't think I can handle it. I think it might just be, like, too fucked up for me. Like, I think
It's
I think there's
pretty fucked up.
I think that sometimes there's like explorations of how fucked up people's, like, brains can get, where I'm like, you know what? I've worked really hard to not be as fucked up as I used to be, and maybe I don't need to spend a lot of time swimming around in someone else's fucked upness. That doesn't mean I don't admire the art that goes into making that. It just means that, like, that's not how I want to spend my extremely limited free time sometimes.
Totally understandable. Leslie, go for it.
Oh, yeah. So my question for you, now that we've established why you chose this particular show, is what drew you to choose this episode to be the one that we discussed today?
So, this show was originally released in 3-episode bundles, chunks, 3 episodes at a time, on Fridays. And so this was the first episode of, like, the second week that the show aired. And it was, part of it was just the being able to sit on it for a week and think about it and, like, kind of digest the first bit. But this was the first episode where I was watching the show without thinking about what it was missing. Because I've watched specifically this doesn't actually dramatize, like, the first narrative arc of campaign 1 of Critical Role. That one included a cast member who ended up leaving under some fraught circumstances. You can Google it. I'm not going to talk about it on here. And a lot of people find him really, like, unwatchably bad. I like the first part of the actual play show, but whatever. Again, the story that's, like, the part of the story that is the animated show is, like, the second arc. A lot of people just start watching from there, and I've seen that. Like, I've listened to the podcast of it, I've seen it a bunch of times. I have this like, it's very ingrained in my brain, this specific narrative arc of this show. And the first 3 episodes, all I could see was what wasn't there. What they had cut, what they had worked around. It was, when you're used to one person doing literally all of the NPCs, it's weird to be like, that NPC is not Matt Mercer. That's weird. Like, it's not that people aren't good, but it's just, I was having trouble separating the two art forms. And then,
I mean, it's quite literally, it's a remake.
Yeah,
to a degree.
It is.
Sure.
But it's such a different, the formats are so different that it's like, it was never going to be a 1-to-1, but it was so much, instead of like a 1-to-2, it was like a 1-to-7.
Sure.
In a way that I sort of just, like, intellectually knew was probably going to happen, but wasn't, just because this had, like, tread a specific path in my brain over and over again. And the way that this episode in particular, like, distills a lot of the character relationships that they are where they are at this point allowed me to go, oh, okay, this is its own thing, and that kind of switch like flipped in my brain, and this is where the show became a separate thing for me, and that's why I wanted to. Also, it's kind of, I really feel like it's like the preceding episode is also really good, but I was still thinking about all the things that weren't there that I really loved. And this is the one where I went, oh, I also like this separately from it being a dramatization of this thing that I already love.
Totally. It's weird, actually. Right after I said that, where I said this is effectively a remake, I realized that's like half true.
Yeah.
And that this occupies a weird space between a remake and, I guess, an adaption.
Yeah.
Because it's adapted from something, but it's not adapted from a book. It's adapted from something that also has many of the same voice actors.
Yeah.
And
right.
is also a serialized format something or other.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it happens sometimes in movies where, like, people will make, like, a concept short film that later gets made into, like, a full-length movie with the studio backing it or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, sometimes an actor will carry over or whatever. It's super rare, and I can't think of...
But it's like the inverse of that, where there's so much more stuff that has to get... You know, it's not an exploding of a concept, it's a streamlining.
Right, totally.
Just, I'm struggling to come up with any comparable examples. That doesn't mean they're not out there, it just means that I don't claim... I mean, I'm well-traveled, but I'm not that well-traveled.
Sure. I mean, but how often does this exact format of something happen?
As far as I know, never.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is... I guess the closest thing I can think of would be, didn't they do like a graphic novel adaptation of The Adventure Zone?
Yeah, they did.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
they
feel like
did.
that would be the closest. I've never interacted with The Adventure Zone, so I can't speak to that, but conceptually that seems the closest touchstone for me.
Yeah, probably. Or similarly when they adapt a comic book into a TV show like Paper Girls or something.
That's a good one.
Yeah, where it's...
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've heard as somebody who hasn't finished Paper Girls and who did not watch that TV show yet, I've heard they take some twists with that plot as well. But yeah, no, this occupies like an interesting gray area of like what's adaptation, what's remake, what's sequel, what's whatever.
Yeah.
And this is a prequel technically, right? Kinda.
The first two episodes are a prequel in that the events of those two episodes were made up and are either... Okay, this is another weird thing about the first campaign of Critical Role, is that that campaign was just a home game that then the people in it decided to start streaming in the middle.
Gotcha.
They were playing Pathfinder, which is why Percy's character is like that, because gunslingers exist in Pathfinder and did not exist. I mean, people had homebrewed them, but this was sort of like the explosion of them for 5e D&D. And so that the events of the first two episodes, I think, may be based on something that happened pre-streaming, but they're not part of the like streamed canon of Critical Role Campaign 1. That was
fascinating
new stuff from which was interesting. It's fine. That's good, but you know, it was also like odd.
Oh, certainly. Leslie, I'm curious what your perspective is on this, because obviously Ezra's deep into it. I know like 5% of what Critical Role is.
I know nothing about it. I've actively avoided any and all content. I know 0% of any of it. This is the absolute most content material in this universe that I have ever laid eyes on.
Nice.
You've played D&D.
I was gonna
right?
say, are you familiar
sure.
with 5th edition D&D?
Yes, as far as this particular campaign is concerned, and as far as any of this lore is concerned. I mean, the general stuff, sure, because I do know of 5th edition, but yeah, it was interesting. I found it to be thematically and aesthetically incredibly similar to Castlevania, which we reviewed towards the top of this season.
It does look a lot like Castlevania.
Yeah, it's really similar. It gave me a lot of the same vibes as Castlevania did. Very surprised by the language, not as surprised by the gore. Surprised that people were still alive after the massive amounts of gore that
It's
were
okay.
bestowed upon it.
Fifth edition's just like that.
I was watching it and I was just like, so I guess so everyone's just dead now. Nope. Okay. Never mind.
Don't worry
So,
about
the way that it was portrayed, the way that it was illustrated, the way that it was animated, that was pretty raw. But yeah.
Everyone started bleeding from their eyes
Everyone
and
does.
nose.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sorry.
right.
I forgot about that. I probably should have warned you about the bleeding from the eyes thing.
No, it wasn't a trigger. I know I have eye traumaphobia. That doesn't scratch that itch.
That's fair. It treads the line for me.
It was a thing where I'm like, oh no, the cast. Like, I was just like,
Right.
oh, they got Walking Dead real bad.
Yeah.
Because, that was the whole hook of Walking Dead, was that anyone can leave the show
That's
at any
fair.
moment.
I remember.
Was there a hook to that show? We've talked about this before. I made
what
it
was
literally 2 minutes through that show. We've talked about this before. About
That's
Walking
like-
Dead.
Okay, yeah, I made it. I think about 12. So
I made it through 2 minutes. Well, my problem is that
4 seasons.
My problem is that I get scared by zombies very easily when they're very realistic. So after we saw like the first one, I was like, you know what? I don't think
You're
this is
like,
for
I'm
me.
out.
I'm out.
I'm gonna be real here. I thought it was really boring. I was like, yeah, no, this does nothing for
I
me.
mean, I didn't
But
even get
just
far
was like,
enough. I didn't even get far enough to form that opinion. I was just like, there is a half of a lady who is decayed and crawling
That's
on the
fair.
ground, and I'm done.
There are a number of things. I mean, I that's how I feel about the Hellraiser trailers. I think, it would be really cool to be the kind of person who could enjoy Hellraiser, but I know that I watched 30 seconds of the Hellraiser trailer and went, nope.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
I am, this is fundamentally incompatible with my psyche.
But Ezra, they have such delights to show you.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe they can show me, like, the super cut where nobody's getting their skin peeled off or something.
The PG-13 cut of
Yeah,
Hellraiser.
the like
Yeah, it's out
3.5 minute
there.
PG-13 cut of Hellraiser. That I will enjoy.
That's like did y'all ever see that Mad TV skit, The Sopranos on PAX TV?
No, tell me more.
An absolute classic. It's like this show has been edited for content, and it's like every time they're about to. It's like my favorite Mad TV skit. It's so good.
Ezra, this may not surprise you. Sopranos has quite a bit of profanity in it, and quite a lot
And
of
nudity,
titties.
and yes,
I had imagined that it had quite a
All
bit
of
of
that's good
profanity in it.
stuff.
I don't think I really I don't know that I would necessarily have expected it to just be like, wall to wall titties.
it's not wall to wall.
It is kind of wall. Well, the first season's kind of wall to wall, and then they cut it off a little bit. But there's
a lot of,
titties in every season. It's a lot of titties.
Every time they go to the mafia-owned strip club, not a joke, the Bada Bing.
Yes, the name of it. The name of it is the Bada Bing. It's not a joke. It's for real. But yeah. So and the joke, Ezra, for those of us who were not old like myself, PAX TV is a now defunct, formerly active Christian television network. So the joke was that they were airing The Sopranos on this Christian television network, and it was edited for content. So, it's like a 1.5-minute long skit, and it was an entire episode of The Sopranos that had been... Anyway, it's really good. Just watch it. That's yes, it is even funnier than you could imagine.
I'm gonna have fun Googling this after we're done recording.
Literally just starting with a tone and then ending with a gunshot.
Yeah. No, the end of a gunshot. They don't even show the whole thing.
I was also surprised at the Castlevania-esque level of gore that they went for on this show, because I was like, okay, I don't imagine D&D being that. I mean, sometimes I imagine D&D being that gruesome, and there's definitely like moments on the actual play show where somebody really decides to go for the gore aspect, but obviously it's, you're describing something with your words, and you can't. And this was sort of like, I was like, oh, okay. I don't really know why. I mean, somebody made a very strong aesthetic choice there that I don't really understand the logic behind. It doesn't bug me. And I think this is also like there's a lot of zombies in this show. Look, one of your main antagonists is a necromancer. It happens.
Right.
There's zombie giants later on, which are pretty baller.
Yeah, I'd think.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. Thought about doing that one. I had to. There are 12 episodes of this show, and I was like, I can't pick between these 3 episodes, because I'm indecisive. We know this.
I will say the design of the zombies themselves, I found very interesting to look at. Those
good.
like wraith-like
Yeah,
creatures.
I really liked that.
The blood very much felt like it didn't bother me because I don't. It's animated blood. That stuff literally
Sure,
just doesn't bother me. It's
it
not
doesn't-
real. No one's hurt.
Right. It's not that it bothered me. I just found it surprising.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like the thing you said. It's described. It's the same way I can. I mean, I've been getting more into horror movies, but I can handle horror better when it's an audiobook versus when I'm watching it.
Sure.
Because I can just kind of mentally gloss over viscera if I'm not seeing it, like literally seeing it.
That's fair.
And if someone describes something nasty in like a Stephen King book, I can just kind of adjust it to my PG-13 version or whatever. But similarly, like, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is obviously such like an imagination focused game. Like obviously there's graphics that go along with it, whether that's, you know, Hero Forge or official illustrations or whatever, or fan art or whatever. But I'm definitely in a headspace where I don't think of tabletop as particularly graphic unless that's the point of the system we're playing or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Including the game that you and I play,
Yeah,
including,
fair.
you know, even the gruesomest game I play, 10 Candles, I don't think of it in gruesome terms.
I think maybe...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think maybe if you don't play a lot of tabletop, but you do play a lot of video games, there's a tendency to think of hit point loss as being physical damage, especially if you play like something like, even like most RPGs like Dragon Age has like a persistent gore thing that I leave on because I think it's funny. But so often when your PC is taking damage, there's like some sort of like visual representation of like you have been like injured, that you're you know, there's blood or whatever you have instead of blood, there's marks, whereas like the way that D&D, like, I have been increasingly thinking about hit points in D&D is it's like there's like a stamina element to it. You know, you're not always getting like ripped up, because especially when you have like, you know, you would just fucking die. But if you're, you know, if you're doing things like having to like, you know, like you can get out of the way, but it like wrenches your arm, or like you take the blow with your shield and it like rattles your teeth. You know, there's a lot of ways to think about it that don't involve like bodily fluids flying.
Bleeding out of your nose.
Yeah, bleeding out of your nose or whatever. Or, you know, maybe your nose gets broken, but, you know, you're not, like, bleeding out of all of your orifices like you've suddenly developed the like, turbo Ebola.
Yeah. People in this television show were turning into Sam Raimi monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were getting Evil Deaded real bad.
And I think that, like, it's... I don't necessarily know why that was the aesthetic decision that they went for, but it's definitely like the whole show is like that. Like they very much went for the kind of pulpy, it's a little bit schlocky, parenthetical affectionate, you know, which I kind of ended up, I kind of like it because I feel like it contrasting the characters, like either having like, because this is obviously, you know, in the way of many D&D parties, this is a group of people who refuse to talk about their feelings without like 17 layers of sarcasm.
Sure.
And it the contrast between the you know, sort of shocking, like, you know, it's all very 2D, but it's, you know, it's pretty like, whoa, holy shit, it's a lot of blood or whatever, like that was fucked up. It's a fun dynamic there with characters, and then letting them be blasé about it is also keeps things kind of fun, and it preserves a lot of the, like, I mean, there are definitely parts of Critical Role that are, I mean, like, I have cried multiple times watching Critical Role, and like, yes, I cry about everything, shut up, but like there are very skilled actors playing very emotionally fraught scenes with one another on that show, but there's also it this is what it is. I did this thing where I had to talk around this before I figured it out. Part of the pleasure for me and for a lot of people of watching Critical Role is not just the in-character stuff, it's the out-of-character stuff. This is a group of people who have been very good friends for decades. And they're, especially early on, it's gotten a little bit less as the show's gotten more professional, more heavily produced. But there's just a constant stream of background nonsense. People are constantly fucking messing with each other's shit and, like, you know, doing face commentary when someone else is talking. And I feel like the juxtaposition of the really violent visuals with the kind of the way that the characters behave with each other echoes. It doesn't transcribe that experience of having this sort of meta commentary of watching friends have fun while also playing this out. But it does give you a little something, a little sense of, like, there's a this is for fun aspect of this, which you obviously don't get when you can't see people goofing off, which is why I do not understand people who only listen to the Critical Role podcasts. I'm like, literally, like, a third of the fun is watching these people watching Marisha just, like, absolutely clothesline Liam every 5 seconds.
I think about the nature of adaption, like, sometimes, and how, like, at its core, it is always about the shortening of something. It is all, like, stuff always gets cut. And when people say, like, oh, the book is better, I'm like, well, the book,
there's just
sure,
more
but
book.
the book's also longer.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
more
you
room
have
for
to
more
cut
shit.
some stuff to bring it down to, like, a 90-minute or 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, that can upset people because it's the stuff that can get cut is either, you know, maybe you're the guy that likes Tom Bombadil a lot, in which case I have bad news for you about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, sorry. So
cut that.
Pour one out for all the Tom Bombadil heads out there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the stuff that got cut out is the stuff you latched onto, or, you know, or it's missing a certain scene, or everyone enjoys specific parts of it, or a work that starts off as auteur is no longer auteur because it has now a bunch of different, you know, because it goes from a book to a TV show, and now all of a sudden there's a bunch of different actors, directors, a room of writers, etc. Like, those are fundamental changes that happen to adaption.
Yeah.
I have to say, the biggest example that I have of, you know, making an adaptation of something and turning it into a completely different beast has got to be the adaptation of the book Princess Bride into the movie. I recently decided to reread the book, and if you don't know, the whole book is kind of a sort of a farce in that the author, William Golding, of the book, you know, professes that it's this, you know, it's just his translation from this old book from Florides that his dad used to read to him, and it's all bullshit. Like, he made the whole thing up, obviously, and so he keeps interjecting in the book with his own, like, author's notes, or, like, you know, whatever.
God,
and the author's notes are largely this one was really doesn't hold up well, I'll say, mainly because of the misogyny, I would say, and the misogyny that William Golding has in his soul and imparts throughout his author's notes in that book. So really the only good part of the book is just the story, which is all more or less that the movie is. So the movie is clearly better for that reason. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's, like, I mean, that's rare by and large.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least it is if you ask people who have consumed both materials.
Sure.
But yeah, it's, I don't know, I'm just thinking about, like, the translation from something being an auteur work to a all of a sudden non-auteur work.
I always wonder.
And obviously you can argue that a novel is never auteur because it's got an editor and a cover artist. But even
well,
so.
apparently not if you're Stephen King. Anyway, I will never
Happy
stop
October,
making
everyone.
the nobody has edited Stephen King since the 80s joke, because I think it's funny.
It makes money, why would you?
That's fair. I always wonder, I'm so overwhelmingly friends with people who read a lot, that for the most part, me and also everyone I know is almost always going into adaptations specifically of literature, having read the book first.
Sure.
And generally going, okay, well, obviously I like this, but like it's never going to supplant the book in my heart. Whether I think that, whatever mean they think that's better. Usually it's the book was better. Even if I like the movie, to the point where I have a really hard time imagining what it's like to. This is why I can never be a professional critic, because I am just absolutely fucking incapable of imagining what it would be like to watch these things not being familiar with the source material. I mean, you don't want to hear me yelling about the Rings of Power show, or unless you do, in which case go listen to that one episode of Sneople where I spent like 20 minutes yelling about, and I will do more. I don't doubt it. But somebody made an interesting point there, which is that that show is very specifically having to work around only having the rights to certain portions of the source material and having to make the story comprehensible for people who aren't sitting there filling in the rest of the source material, which is what I can't stop doing. I cannot turn off the part of my brain that comes up with Watsonian solutions for Doyleist problems. I can't do it. I can't stop. I'm gonna have to hide my phone the next time I go back to watch that show, because I have to stop looking things up in the middle of it. Anyway, and so
just do what I do and have Lord of the Rings wiki memorized. Page by page.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of people in the Silmarillion, and their names all start with F.
Yeah. That's the thing. Is I feel like you have to have almost like that's why I haven't even watched it yet. Yeah. Let's not get in too hard into this subject.
But I was thinking about this, and I realized that my exception to this is the Apple TV Foundation adaptation. I've never read
sure.
I have never read any Isaac Asimov. I had no idea I couldn't even have told you what the basic plot of the Foundation trilogy was. If you had said Foundation trilogy, I would be like, oh yeah, isn't that Isaac Asimov book? That's it. And so
that's about all I know too.
I watched and very much enjoyed that show without any reference to the source material. Basically, hardly even thinking about it as an adaptation. And then occasionally I would be like, damn, like, do people who are obsessed with the Foundation novels like this show? And like, I don't give a shit. I like it. It has a bunch of people I like in it, etc., etc. But I was just like, oh, I cannot bridge that gap in my head. And so, like, this is so interesting because I'm just like, because neither of you have watched Critical Role, and so you were like, you know, I could talk about this, and I was like, wait, does this show even make any sense?
I mean, like, it makes sense in as much as any D&D campaign.
Okay, that's fair.
Outing would make sense. I don't know if anyone could watch it who's like wholly unfamiliar with D&D
that's kind of, yeah, I wondered if maybe that would be the deal breaker there, is if you're just, because they're not, you know, it's not like locked into D&D rules, but there are unavoidably aspects of it where you're like, this story is being told in a specific framework that has specific limitations that if you don't know what they are, they probably don't. You're probably like, why is this like this? And the answer is because that's how 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons works. That would be weird.
This show could work for people who are not familiar with the source material but still want a fantasy story. I don't see it working for people who don't know specifically what bard means.
Right.
No, you know what? You're not wrong.
Right.
Like if you say bard, oh yeah, like Shakespeare? No, like a tabletop bard.
Right.
You're like, yeah.
Like where singing is magic?
Like,
oh, okay, so singing is magic. Like, you have to...
Right.
If you don't know what a warlock is, you're stuck out of luck.
That's true.
And if you think bard only means someone who like plays a lute in a court of kings or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're
like, you know, you're like, oh yeah, you know, bards, oh yeah, I really liked that Witcher TV show, and you're like, oh no.
No, not quite.
You're like, I'm so sorry.
I also liked the Witcher TV show, but no, not quite. But yeah, no, I felt I got along with these characters to a degree.
Fair.
Obviously we jumped in halfway through a season, a third of the way through a season.
Weird. Yeah, you jumped in right after one of them had almost been turned into a vampire, and another one had chased down and shot off some poor bastard's hand, kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's very dramatic.
I imagine if you roll into this, again, having maybe at least played one tabletop game, and knowing that those manifest themselves as kind of semi-chaotic ensemble enterprises in which there are a lot of concurrent and sometimes competing individual plot lines. If you just know how tabletop flows, I could see appreciating this.
That makes sense.
You've never had that firsthand experience,
you're just gonna be like, this must just seem like really incompetently messy storytelling.
I would imagine you would just think it was bad writing.
You're like, you just feel like, wow, is this just like, did nobody edit this?
Oh my god,
and
pick a plot.
Like, right.
Well, so the thing about this is that initially, no, because it is improvised.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that I guess that is the lens. Pick a plot.
Yeah.
Because there are 7 competing.
No.
Anyway, yeah. Well, you get what I'm getting at.
I do. That's an interesting. I think that's a good point. That it does preserve the helter-skelter vibe of a tabletop game. Well, obviously it has to streamline a lot, but it doesn't let go of that, 17 spinning plates vibe.
Right.
Totally.
Which all good tabletop has. That's why I love it so much.
So where's this show going? We got a second season. A second season confirmed even before the first season aired.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much of the show how much of the original show do you think they're going to end up doing?
I have absolutely no clue. Because it takes a really long time to make one of these. I mean, animation just takes a really long time to produce because somebody's got to draw all of it. I mean, obviously not all types of animation are like that, but...
Sure. Yeah, well, unless you're Netflix.
Yeah, well... Why does it all look the same? Sorry, that's a separate question. But I feel like there's like 2 visual styles for Western adult animation, and one of them is the one where everybody has perfectly round eyeballs all the time, and the other one was where everything is like pointy like Castlevania.
That's not true, though.
Those are your only 2 options.
Not true.
There are exceptions, but I feel like those are 2 major... There's a bunch of shows that look really similar. There are shows that have distinctive styles. I'm not saying those don't exist, but there's like specific character models that I feel like I keep seeing again and again and going, wait, those are from different television shows.
Yeah, it's the Bob's Burgers clone effect and the Family Guy clone effect.
Yes, sure.
Okay, it's just that it's okay, I don't...
The third category is shows executive produced by Lisa Hannawalt.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, there are a lot of those. And yeah, as of late,
anyway.
Netflix produced like 3 different animated shows that each had a very similar vibe, and they were Castlevania, that Blood of Zeus one.
That was so bad. It was so bad.
So bad.
I watched all of it, and I don't know why. My old roommate and I just like could not tear our eyes away. We were like, "This sucks. Why are we still watching it?" Puts on the next episode.
I watched the entire thing in one day because it was like a.
Actually, no. I think I did too. I think I just accidentally stayed up to like 1:30 in the morning, just watching it in sort of horrified fascination.
It was quite bad, and the thing is, what came out just around the exact same time was the Hades video game, and that was so much better.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
played that because I'm really bad at that kind of video games.
They did Castlevania Blood of Zeus, and then they did Lakeith Stanfield as the samurai.
I don't know what that is.
It's the black samurai in feudal Japan show.
That one missed me.
Why can I never remember that guy's name? Like Yasuke or
well,
something.
Are they okay? So this is my question as someone who is deeply, deeply ignorant of how animation gets produced.
Sure.
Like, I understand that. So, like, for instance, like a bunch of Miyazaki movies all look similar, and I have assumed that was because they were directed by the same person and presumably had the same team of artists, or at least some of the same team of artists work on them. And there was like this is what or like maybe it's the studio. That's what I don't understand. I'm like, generally when you see a visual style repeated across properties that are not like a series, is it the studio? Is it the artist team? Is there a director who wants all their stuff to look like that? Who is deciding that this is the way those movies are going to look?
So typically, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of the studio and the artist.
Okay, because the artists work for the studio, then I assume, and then you get in a director. Because that's why Disney because you there's like a Disney style, and all those people work for Disney.
All the Disney Renaissance movies from like 1989 to 2000 all have a very similar look.
Yeah.
All like Marvel and DC Comics had a similar look.
Okay, yeah.
All Miyazaki movies have like a similar look. That's usually what's known as the house style.
Okay.
Which is where they try to steer artists toward kind of one cohesive look so that they can continue, so that they can create cohesive works.
Yeah.
Because what will happen frequently is individual characters will be completely, from beginning to end, individual characters will be illustrated by individual artists.
I forgot about that.
So, like, there may be one guy, I'm thinking Glenn Keane specifically is like a famous Disney name in the 90s. Like, he animated, like, every frame of Beast from Beauty and the Beast is him.
That's so interesting to think of
like,
it as,
one
like,
guy hand draws all of Genie.
as opposed to, like, one person doing a scene. It's almost like you have a voice actor playing that character, and also in a way an artist playing that character, because they're in charge of that character from start to finish, which makes way more sense than what I was thinking of it.
It's a wild process because, like, I mean, I absolutely appreciate the logic you're approaching that with, because, like, neither of those truly make sense. You're like, wait, hold on. You're telling me a different guy draws Aladdin than the person who draws Jasmine than the person who draws Jafar? That can't be right. But then what's the alternative? That one person draws scene 1 and one person draws scene 2? That also doesn't make sense.
No, yeah. God, animated film is nuts.
But of those two solutions, I guess they found that one person has a character from start to finish makes more sense than we swap every other scene.
I mean, I feel like having to have like 9 different people figure out how to draw an eyeball exactly the same sounds way more exhausting.
Yeah.
You're like you're just stuck there and like learn to draw this one character's eyeball jail. like you have to draw this left eye 75 times exactly the same before we'll let you move on.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how they train them up.
Yeah.
I mentioned Glenn Keane specifically, as where you'll be pleased to know Glenn Keane, was the animator behind Professor Rattigan.
Glenn Keane, hi. You're a badass and I love you. I have no fucking... Is that guy still alive?
Yeah, still kicking.
Oh, hell yeah. My hat is off to you, sir.
Rattigan, he's behind Ariel. Looks like he was worked all the way up to Treasure Planet for them.
Nice.
I love Treasure Planet.
Yeah. And anyway,
fucking love Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah,
I know.
I imprinted on so hard.
So in these cases, the recent wave of animated TV shows, basically they kind of ship these jobs overseas, usually to Korean studios.
That's interesting.
I think Sony Animation in particular has like a lot of who is responsible for, among other things, the new She-Ra series and the Voltron series. I believe those all basically just hire teams of Korean artists who are trained to work in a certain style.
Of Voltron until you said that, and you don't even want to know how much shit came crashing back into my brain. I know so much more about Voltron fandom drama than I ever wanted to.
You're sparing the rest of us in this process. Yeah. So anyway, animation takes a while.
Yes. How much more do I think they're gonna do? Where did they leave off? I know that the very end of the current this initial season does preserve there's a very specific oh fuck moment which I was not spoiled for. And so, I mean, I was watching this with a friend of mine, and I just like started just yelling. And she was just like, I cannot believe that you hadn't gotten spoiled for that. This is the best thing that's ever happened. If you haven't interacted with campaign 1 of Critical Role and you want to stop listening for the next, but just turn this podcast off. Or don't. I don't care.
No, keep listening.
Keep listening.
No, please keep listening.
Just mute it for a hot second. Take your headphones out for a hot second. Anyway, so...
Sure, which moment?
They get back. Everybody gets back. This stuff with the Briarwoods gets vaguely resolved. They get back to the city or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And 4 chromatic dragons show up out of nowhere.
I think I've heard
and
about
you're
this.
like, what the fuck? Which is that's the next, pretty long sort of overarching part of people call it the Chroma Conclave arc.
That's
and there's
the
a
phrase I've heard, yeah.
lot of stuff that happens under that umbrella. There's a lot of side plots. There's a lot of character focused stuff, much of which would look fabulous animated. So it's almost like they have as much material as they could be making this show for 20 years. It's a long... There's so much... This fucking thing is it's literally hundreds of hours of content. So, and even
Thousands,
distilling it. At this point, I don't know. Somebody's probably done the math. It's probably,
because there's 3 campaigns, right? And each have over 100 episodes.
It's probably thousands of hours.
I appreciate that there is essentially very classic fantasy content being made right now. Very classic fantasy stories.
It's good. Sometimes you just have to fight dragons. Sometimes you have to have some dungeons and some dragons.
Exactly.
And it's good. I am not tired of those things. No, I am not watching the House of the Dragon show or whatever the fuck it is.
Sure.
I was going to, because I love Patty Considine very much. And the thing that is keeping me from watching that show is how bad the wigs are.
Yes.
I saw it and I went,
fair enough.
I can't. I cannot go. You have gone where I cannot follow.
Right.
I am trapped in a nightmare prison where I have to keep hearing about Game of Thrones throughout my entire adult life.
So sorry.
From high school till the day I die.
Yeah,
probably.
Apparently. Will be on the air.
Probably.
Unrelated. I'm dying tomorrow.
There's no escape.
But it's nice. It's nice to live in a high quality kind of fantasy renaissance right now, because so much fantasy storytelling has kind of been saddled by very low budgets.
Yeah.
Prior
Which
to,
I
guess,
personally
Lord of the Rings.
find charming, but most people
Of
find
course.
excruciating.
Right. It's nice. It's nice we're getting in an era, between the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons movie and Rings of Power and all that jazz, where fantasy's kind of in the limelight. And as someone who obviously works in fantasy as a genre and appreciates it, hey, I'm on board.
Yeah,
sure,
no, absolutely. Specifically, the next sort of, it's probably 10 or 11 episode, Critical Role episodes worth of content that is what happens when the capital, a very major city gets fucking, it gets just destroyed, and how do you deal with that, and the dealing with the fact that an adventuring party is very powerful individually, but is really not equipped to deal with that scale in terms of what do you do with all the fucking civilians? How do you deal with this? And it's kind of
right. They're not as powerful as they are. They aren't.
Yeah, they're not. Well, they're also not the government.
Oh yeah.
They're not in charge of the firefighting brigade. And it's an interesting the way that plays out in terms of what you're very, very powerful, but what are your limitations by just being 7 people is very, I personally feel makes for very engaging storytelling, and I'm excited to see that.
I gotta say, I do have a ton of respect for everyone who's involved in that show. I think together and individually, I don't follow their careers, but it's nice to see a name I recognize when I'm scrolling through the credits of a video game or whatever.
Yeah.
like the experience I put in the script in the beginning is like one I run into where I'm like watching one of those DC direct to DVD things, and all of a sudden
You're
the
like,
Flash was one
hello.
of those guys.
Yeah,
exactly.
I started playing Final Fantasy 14, and like one of the first like voiced cutscene characters you run into, I was playing it with a friend of the show, Maddie, on the phone, and I was just like, got like 3 words, and I was like, is that Taliesin Jaffe? And it's like, yes it is.
Yes.
Damn, okay.
Who I believe is also the voice of the Flash.
Yes. Or you watch like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The English dub Travis is Rory Mustang, which was the hook for me getting into that show, and now I'm obsessed with it.
I think that wraps up just about anything I'd want to say about the show. Leslie?
I don't really have anything else to say. I'm good. Obviously, this week we're not gonna this episode we're not gonna have a favorite joke, because that is not that kind of show. So
No, not particularly. I was wondering actually. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, what is everyone's favorite? If we're talking about them in general, what's everyone's favorite adaptation from a source material into a TV show?
Oh, specifically into a TV show?
Yeah, let's go TV.
oh,
I think I have mine, but so I can go first.
Okay, yeah, please do, because I need
yeah,
to stall
please
for
go
time.
first.
I think Station 11 really pulled it off.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
you think so?
I think the HBO Station 11 series that came out last November or last fall, I guess, I think was a very well done adaptation of that book. I think it's some of the best television that's come out in a hot minute. It is a drastic deviation from the plot of that book, but I think it incorporates all of the necessary themes. And it's just like an alternate timeline of that story.
Oh, okay.
In a way where
That's fascinating.
I very much stopped, like you said, Ezra, I stopped worrying about what got cut and started appreciating the new branch.
Sure.
I think for me that's the moment that an adaptation can pull that off is the moment that I'm like, however else I may feel about it, that's sort of the baseline success metric for me.
It is when I turn off my editor brain.
Yeah. When I stop thinking about how I would have adapted this and start enjoying how somebody else adapted it.
Yeah, I guess I would have to say that mine is. I just recently started watching the series for A League of Their Own, and it is very, very, very good.
I really need to watch that.
It's very good from what I've seen so far, and I will definitely am looking forward to watching more. That would be mine.
I see so much of it on my Tumblr dash, and I am so gay.
It's a good time.
What differentiates it from the movie? Is it just that we get more time?
It's different characters, more time. Like you have like it's sort of the same thing you were talking about, Ben, where it's just sort of a different like. It's the premise is obviously very much there, but the deviation is so stark that it's you can't even compare the two, in my opinion. I think like they do definitely have some of the same characters, but the other ones that have been added are so different, and it's very openly queer, and it's very, very, very good.
This is a pretty big digression from that, but mine is the 2005 miniseries adaptation of Elizabeth Gaskell's novel North and South.
Okay.
Which is this doesn't actually do it justice, but it's what if Pride and Prejudice was about like labor relations in mill towns in the north of England rather than like class in the Lake Country.
Oh, sure.
Starring a young Richard Armitage, which is why I found out about it in the first place during my Richard Armitage phase.
Thorin Oakenshield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. That's probably my favorite 19th century romance novel. I like it better than I like Jane Austen a lot, and I like North and South, which is a maybe, I'm gonna get this wrong, but 40 or 50 years later. It's definitely a slightly different milieu.
Sure.
It's very much the Industrial Revolution is in full swing kind of a thing. But that is... There's a lot of politics in the book, and there's a lot of sort of contemporary thinking, like contemporary to when it was written, thinking about
Sure.
sort of like sociological thinking almost, that is pretty foreign to a modern sensibility. And I think that the show manages to articulate how people think, why they think the way that they think, in a way that doesn't judge those characters by modern standards, while also making them appealing to a modern sensibility. And you really, really, really want them to get together. I cry every time I watch this.
Well, I mean,
I'm a
that
huge
kind of
sap.
like that kind of relatability is key, which is something that I think this show does well, because it doesn't just focus on big monster. It focuses on like personal failure and and whatnot. And I think that's something we can obviously attach to more than we can attach to, say, necromantic wraith monsters.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know about you, but that's how I visualize my depression gremlins.
Oh, I don't know about you. That's how I visualize going to work in the morning.
You're
My
not
goodness.
wrong.
Oh, well. Z, thanks so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
Thanks for having me on. You can find me online, I guess, at SS_Ophelia. That's sailing ship, not the Nazi thing. I always worry that people are going to think that. Nobody
It's
has...
never too late to change your
at some point I will, but it's a big hassle. So you can find me at SS_Ophelia on Twitter, for basically more of this, but with probably 100% more Marxism. If you want, I'm actually... Shut up. Or at Good Ship Ophelia on Tumblr, if that's more your speed. Or, as Ben said at the top, check out Snake People at the Movies, also from the Infinity Break Network, with me and Maddie and Helena. I don't know when this episode is coming out, but the next episode of Sneople, unfortunately, I won't be on because we're recording it on Yom Kippur. But that's going to be more Star Wars TV show talk with our friend Madeline. I can't wait to listen to it, so you all should too. And come catch Ben and I on ParaScience.
You can check out ParaScience every other Tuesday right here on InfinityBreak.net. We're coming up to the end of our 4th chapter right now. Wonderful time to catch up. Always a good time to catch up, if I do say so myself. Folks, you can find me online at Ben C. Hamlin. That is BenChamlin over on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out my show, ParaScience, Chaos and Stereo on Tuesdays, Just Ben on Fridays, and of course Syndicated with Leslie and Ben. Leslie, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Vanetti, Vanetti. I talk about a number of things. Took a little break, but now I'm back. That's about it.
Folks, if you like the show, we highly encourage you to tell your friends. Go ahead and support the show directly at patreon.com/InfinityBreak. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, do follow us at Syndicated, WLAB, over on Twitter.com. Leslie and I only have like 2 episodes left of our adult animation season. Assuming we probably are going to sneak in at least one more staff pick there, but we'll let you know what we're planning for our next season. It looks like we're leaning in a specific direction, just because Leslie and I love when illegal things happen.
We are so into that. But we'll see. No promises, though.
Does the West Wing count or not for what you are envisioning?
As crime?
Oh, that's a different legal thing than I thought you were going for.
Oh.
I assumed you meant lawyer shows. I'll see myself out.
Oh.
No.
Does the West Wing count as crime, though? To art, in general? Maybe.
Hey.
Anyway, we're figuring out what our 3rd season's going to be, but I know we'll keep you posted once we decide. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening to Syndicated. We will see you in 2 weeks' time with another episode.
See you later.